Denver's bridges are not falling down, but it is not exactly confidence-inspiring that there's now a sixth bridge quietly added to the list that are off limits to heavy vehicles like fire trucks and semis. Our Marshall Zellinger was curious who's watching to make sure that heavy vehicles aren't doing damage to the bridges we depend on to be safe. He found an honor system that's not exactly honored.
I can't tell how much a semi weighs just looking at it, so it's hard to tell if that semi is heavier than the 20 to 21 tons that is the maximum allowed for a truck that size on the Quebec Bridge between I-70 and Smith Road. 20 to 21 tons is about 40,000 pounds. An empty semi is close to that.
That's going to be between 32 and 40,000 pounds dry weight.
Craig Hurst oversees freight mobility and safety for CDOT. Even though this is a City of Denver bridge, he helps get the word out about bridge restrictions for the state and helped explain why we might see truckers using a bridge they probably are supposed to avoid.
They may be violating this bridge weight restriction with zero knowledge that it happened, and not because they're not trying to comply, but simply because it's hard to get this message directed at the right people at the right time.
Signs are posted just before the bridge, like the one at Mississippi and Santa Fe, ahead of that bridge over the South Platte. This is one of 6 bridges in the city that need to be replaced and are weight restricted, but are deemed safe for normal traffic.
The biggest challenge is getting that information out in front of that driver ever coming into that situation.
This sign is the newest to pop up, warning truckers and emergency vehicles about a new weight restriction on the Lawrence Bridge over the Cherry Creek between north and southbound Spear. That bridge restriction is just down from a Denver fire station, which has had to detour around the other bridge restrictions since late last year. Although, Denver Fire asked State Patrol to weigh some of their vehicles to know for sure how heavy they are.
Where you're basically going to each axle and you're weighing, and then you're adding up the axle weights, and then quickly you can come to the conclusion of what that truck weighs.
It turns out not all fire engines are too heavy for the bridges, but this rescue truck weighed in at almost 55,000 pounds, more than 27 tons. This weigh-in is similar to what it would look like if State Patrol or DPD had to set up a mobile weigh station to spot check trucks to make sure they're not overweight. The other bridges with restrictions are 6th Avenue over Cherry Creek and 2 other bridges connecting Quebec and Central Park, Smith and Sandown. It seems no one is actively making sure the weight restrictions are being honored, but also, Kyle, the bridges are still standing.
Right? I assume that if it was an imminent threat, they would actually have people out there, like, keeping the trucks off the bridge.
I think if it was imminent threat, they would shut down the road to traffic altogether. But yeah, I think the signs are supposed to do one step, and I guess if you're reviewing some itinerary before you drive into the area, it might be on there. That's something that Craig Hurst with CDOT wants to do a pilot program with the City of Denver to try to integrate the state and city system.
You'd have to be a heck of a good trucker to see that sign. Just be like, whoop, there's my one block, you know, and get off ahead of it. That's tough. All right, Marshall Zellinger, thank you.